Welcome to the Revolution Church podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bubba. I'm sorry. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Revolution. We're having a Minecraft emergency. Sorry, I've been out and about. I had a birthday, and then actually Christmas. It was really wild that I had planned on giving a Christmas talk, but then my ex-wife's plans got changed, and so she invited me over for Christmas morning, and I was having so much fun with the kids that I lost track of time. And oh well, how cool is that? They've got a big basement at their mom's house, and so we were playing basketball and all sorts of stuff, and that was really fun. Hope you all had a good holiday season, and Happy New Year to you all. It is 2023. The counter's obviously off because it just says there's one person watching, but I see a lot of you talking, so that's good. So, one of the things I was thinking was I've got some stands for the for the new year, and we're going to talk about that and all that good stuff. Trusty notebook. But yeah, 2022 was a tough year. We had a lot of losses. Wow, I'm surprised. I didn't think anybody was going to be here this morning. Figure y'all be sleeping off the wild partying, but I guess we're all old and went to bed early. I have the kiddos, so we just went to bedtime, but we had some cupcakes, and then at midnight I think someone was lighting off what sounded like I'm looking over there because that's where the fireworks are coming from, making sure all the houses over there are still there, because it sounded like homemade fireworks, and they're like boom, boom. So yeah, at midnight I was like, oh, I have kids sleeping. One of the but anyway, so 2022, we really did. We lost Caleb last year, and that was really tough. Also a friend of mine who was one of my closest friends in Atlanta, Chuck McAdams, passed away, and Frank, our financial guy who handled all the Revolution finances for like over 15 years, I think, also passed away. So yeah, last year was a lot. It was a tough year. It's been strange, moving out to, I don't know, doing new stuff. But yeah, it was a tough year, and so I'm not, always like new year, new me, but I am excited to see what this year has to offer. So here's the plan for this month of January, which I can't believe it's already January. I also can't believe you have to pay rent in December. Gotta buy all those presents and stuff, and then you have to pay rent on top of that. What's the deal? As you all know, that I've been talking about the fact that Revolution is just financially not in a great place, and what we're trying to do there. And a lot of you heard that message and helped and made donations. Unfortunately, we haven't really reached where we need to be yet. But also, with Frank being so sick, I realized that he was just unable to pay some of our bills and stuff. And so now we've got someone new who's taken that over and who's helping figure that out. So that's really helping get us kind of back on our feet a little bit, which is good. We really needed that. Sorry, it's all Revolution house cleaning stuff, but what I want to do is I am flying out to Belfast, Northern Ireland tomorrow. And I thought Belfast would be the perfect place. I'm going to be there for 11 days. We're doing some work with Pete and Helen on the documentary. And as you know, Pete Rollins moved back to Belfast, and so me and Pete and Helen were the ones who kind of started the idea for this documentary, and now it's been taken on by Vice. But flying out to do some editing and do some more filming, and very excited about that for the doc. But Belfast is a place that I think Galatians is really interesting because, you know, the conflict and the troubles that happened in Belfast. And what I really wanted to do was go out to Belfast this week and kind of just reflect on their history a little bit, and then start Galatians from there. So, like, you know, it'll be nighttime when I do the live service there, but I wanted to start Galatians. I just think it's kind of a powerful place, and a great place that I really love and means a lot to me. And I guess that's the artist in me coming out, is like, oh, I feel like if I'm in the right location, in the right place, we can really start off really well. I've been reading some new books about Galatians, so hopefully we'll have a little bit of new information about that wonderful book. And tell your friends about that as well, because I'm really excited about that. So Galatians, my plan is right now with Revolution, and really this is just a new year, new update for what the idea is starting with Galatians, and we'll go through Galatians, probably 5 or 6 weeks of Galatians. And then after that, I wanted to do a kind of a study on Paul Tillich's You Are Accepted. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. So that'll probably be late February, where we'll do probably maybe a 2-part series on You Are Accepted by Paul Tillich, which is in the book called Shaking the Foundations. But if you go onto Google and you type in Paul Tillich, You Are Accepted, it's a sermon that he gave, actually, a talk that he gave. And you can read it for free on Google. It'll come up right away as you put in You Are Accepted, Paul Tillich. It'll probably fill it in for you once you put in You Are Accepted. And so everybody can kind of follow along on the texts with me on that, and we can go through that together as well, because I think that talk is one of the best talks given on the book of Galatians. Now, February is kind of, the end of February is kind of where I've put myself in the place of deciding where Revolution is going to go and what we're going to do. Full disclosure, I'm also talking to Josh, who does all the editing and puts up all the imagery and stuff. He makes all that stuff. Every time you guys see me put up a service and it has, you know, really cool image and a really cool title and really cool explanation, that's all Josh. And I'm grateful for that. I think one of the things I've realized over the years is that, you know, you can really only do this stuff as good as the team that you have. And right now it's me and Josh, and you know, there's a few of you who are also connected, but I'm hoping and talking to Josh about hiring him. And you think, Jay, financial troubles, why would you hire somebody? Because I don't feel like Revolution can continue to do the same thing and expect different results. Who was it that said that was insanity, to do the same thing and expect different results? I think it was Einstein. And so I want to really try to take this seriously. But by the end of February, I'd like to kind of have an idea of where we are going. And if Revolution is going to no longer exist, if Revolution is no longer going to be a nonprofit, no longer be a church, or if Revolution is going to move forward. And it might be after February that we do kind of a like, all right, we're going to do March and April, and then May and June. But by June, we would have a definite decision. I've talked this over with my therapist, my analyst as well. It just kind of things that I need to do in my own life to continue to grow and move forward. And what I want to see this community do and grow forward. And so I've really been taking a deeper look at my own work. And one of the things I think I've done over the past few years is, remember those commercials, Reese's peanut butter commercials? Oh, somebody put their chocolate in my peanut butter, and someone put peanut butter in my chocolate. One of the things I've realized over the past, I guess Revolution's almost 29 years old. It's really crazy, you know, that I've been doing this, and there's so many great stories and so many great things. And by all means, if Revolution was to close the doors, there would be a lot of reflection and a lot of talk about those times. Because I think some really beautiful, amazing things happened over those 29 years. I didn't think I'd be the last man standing, because there was a few of us who started this together. You know, I wasn't even in the original staff. I came in like 6 months later. But definitely worth a reflection, and definitely worth the celebration of and the lives touched, and the people we've encountered, and the situations that have been encountered, and the different styles that have taken place in different times with different communities and different people. It's really Revolution has, the work that I've been able to do through Revolution has literally been a dream come true. You know, when you're in the middle of it, you sometimes go like, oh, we got to do, you know, you're always like, oh, we got to do more. We got to pay the bills. We got to do these things. But looking back, I go, man, that, you know, all the things I ever dreamed of wanting to do, I did through Revolution. You know, like, it was because Revolution that Rolling Stone magazine, and my parents obviously, but my Rolling Stone magazine showed up and was interested in what we were doing. I got to write books. I got to have like great communities and meet in bars in Atlanta that I never thought would ever open their doors to us. You know, and meet and have a church for 7 years in Brooklyn, New York. You know what I mean? And interact with people's lives that I never thought I would, you know, have this effect on. So for me, it's like already job well done. You know, already a dream come true. I'm passionate about my work, and I love the fact that I've been able to share all these years with you guys. You know, it's so easy to focus on the dark parts of your past, and there are very dark valleys there, but there's many great moments, many great hilltop moments of community and people and relationships, and I'm grateful for that, so grateful for that, and I think that's a good place to be. But one of the things I've realized is I've kind of looked over the past of my work, and I go, you know, I think I have, I've come to realize that my past years, that I think I've had my theology and my scholarship mixed up. And what I mean by that, and when I said the peanut butter and the chocolate, you know, is that I think in my past, I've often built my theology based on scholarship. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually think that's a very positive thing, and I think most of us, I think that's a good recipe, to be honest with you. But often I've taken my scholarship in some literal ways that I've been like, well, this is the theology. But now that I'm realizing that how to work with the text a little bit more with a radical theological way of backing up, seeing a bigger picture, and what philosophy has influenced me to do is to take the scholarship and philosophy and put those together, and hopefully a great theology comes out of that. And so not just a theology based off of scholarship or by historical biblical studies, but also one that's rooted in very good philosophy and good thought and good ideas. And that philosophy isn't just philosophers outside of the Bible. That philosophy is also like the Apostle Paul, in Christ and their philosophies and their ideas, but allowing all those things to kind of blend and grow, and realizing the thing I love about scholarship is you'll often realize, like when you're looking into biblical scholarship, you'll see that things that we disagree with now, we often get into this contest or this idea of like, well, we have to disprove it so it's okay now. But what I've realized with some good, really great scholars and great scholarship, one I've been watching lately is this guy Dan on Instagram. He was talking about like, sex outside of marriage, and he was talking about this verse, and I thought it was really interesting. He was going like, the reason that was a big deal at that time, and why that was probably actually there at the time, why that was probably part of the purity code, because a lot of people are like, well, that was never part of the purity code. I can't find it in the Bible. But he was saying that a lot of the reason that was there is because women were seen as property, and really, like, you wanted a virgin wife, and the family wanted the daughter to be a virgin, and because it was land transactions happening and stuff like that, and it was like, and he said the same thing, and it's kind of a crude way to put it, but it's the less mileage, the more, desirable the woman was. Now, obviously, we don't think that way anymore, or at least a lot of us don't. Some people do, unfortunately. But that's not the culture that we live in, thank God. And that's not where we're at. So you start to go like, oh, okay, well, even if this is a literal understanding here, does it still apply to where I live and to the culture that I'm in and to the philosophies that we understand now, the ideas that we understand now? Women aren't seen as property. People aren't seen like that anymore. So we have to go like, how does this work? How does God work through this? What does theology look like now in the story that we find ourselves in? And that's just a small example of the ideas of thinking about good, good scholarship, good historical understandings of these Bibles, and realizing like, that we're seeing how these people, God influenced these people's culture. But what we want to see is what is religion? How does religion influence us now? What does it call us to? What does it draw us to? And what does it? So for me, I think one of the great things too is these past couple of years seeing all these different things done about my mother and seeing my mother through others' eyes. I think it's really beautiful to see like religion through other people's eyes, and philosophy through other people's eyes, and that's how we learn. And it's been interesting to have the chance to see my mother through the eyes of others. It's all about the eyes of Tammy Faye, but it's really the eyes of the filmmaker, eyes of the actress, eyes of the playwright, eyes of the, these people's concept and understanding of who she was. And so you're seeing it not through the eyes of Tammy Faye, but you're seeing it through the eyes of others. And what I find really beautiful about that, it has allowed me to see an essence of my mother that I saw that was there, but of course I was her son, so it wasn't always right there in front of me because we lived life. But still, this concept of unconditional love, this concept of loving your neighbor as yourself, and also the concept of importance of when sometimes conditional love is the best. It is better than unconditional love, because unconditional love often allows us to be abused, and it allows the abuser to continue in their bad habits as well. And so sometimes the idea of having a conditional love, of having, I don't like the word boundary so much, but having a structure, maybe a wall with a door and a few windows in it that allow us to operate and move and act with different people and different things, all things to all men kind of concept. It is valuably important. And I've always felt like, I continue to feel like these are the messages that drive me. The idea of seeing this idea of how much my mother was known for her love for others. And if Revolution does close its doors or whatever happens, I always hope that people will look and go, well, Revolution was something that was really known for its love for other people. Of course, we're always going to have people who are naysayers and people who were hurt and people's needs we weren't able to meet because we're human. We're a community. We're not cut out for every single person. And that's okay. That's fine. I remember in my whole, the last, 20 years of ministry, I always tried to help people who said, well, I don't feel this at Revolution, or I don't get this from Revolution, is tried to encourage them to find other communities where they could find what they needed and where they needed to be. If that was in another church, or if that was in a 12-step program, or if that was in therapy, or if that was in different places, in different communities, we've always encouraged that. It's one of those things that I think's important, is you help people make transitions. I mean, I think Revolution has always been a place to help people in transition places of their lives. I've seen a lot of people come through Revolution, a lot of people who worked with me, and they're in different places and doing different things and don't have anything to do with religion anymore. And I also see other people who have a lot to do with it and do a lot different work. And it's really great to see. I think that's one of the coolest things about social media, is as I get to see these people whose lives Revolution has touched and seen where they've been able to go. And of course, grace is always the message for me. Grace is the point. And helping people argue well is the point. And not scapegoating others is the point. That's what we want to continue to do. I reached out to a biblical scholar, a biblical scholar that I really like recently, and said, "Oh man, I'd love to work with you," And then they got back to me, and I was like, "Well, yeah, great. What would you like to do?" And I was like, last night I was sitting in my bed going like, here I am telling somebody I want to work with them, and I don't even know what that work would be. And I thought, if I was honest, I would just be like, "Oh, well, I think it's been 500 years since the last Reformation. So really, I would just be like, yeah, I think we should get a bunch of people together and reform the church. The capital C, the church in the world, the Christian church of the world. We should probably just get together and figure out a way to reform that and help people think differently." So not a big plan, just changing everything. And by arguing well, and by following like people like Dr. King and as well, and seeing what their work has done and the roadmaps that they've drawn, and using their work also to influence our own and to help others communicate well and make this world a safer place, and not so binary, where everybody one side or the other. And no scapegoating. That would be great. And that's a huge, so I don't feel like, like that work is done, but I don't know if that work will ever be done. But I hope it will. I hope things can become better. It's weird to have this much ambition and at the same time thinking like, oh, I might not be able to do this anymore. But I love contradiction, so I'll live in that. So that's kind of the idea of where we're going. And if you want to know, like, simply why would Revolution not be able to continue, it's just simply that it will not be able to go forward, afford to go forward. I'm a father. I have kids that I have to be responsible for. This is work I've done for 29 years. And if it's time to change, it's time to change. Change is really tough. Making that kind of decision, it wasn't easy. And I've also been, I grew up in the ministry, so I've heard a lot of people like, oh, we're going to close the doors if God doesn't bring us $100,000, And that's not what we're trying to do. Honestly, I'm just trying to figure out how I can do this better. And if I can't do this better, I'd rather not do it. But does that mean I will stop my work? No, I'll always do this type of work somehow, some way. But it is scary. I'm not going to lie. It is nerve-wracking to be there at that place. And you might think, well, what else can I do, Jay? Because I know we're all broke. It's like, what else can I do? Obviously, donations is which we need help, especially if we're going to hire somebody on. And that's even if Josh is able to take it, because he works a full-time job. So, Josh might not be able to even do it. We've just been discussing it. We haven't even come to it, if it's something he's able to do. But But also, if you share our work with other people, that's one of the things I'm always talking about. Is like, and some of you really have. I've seen some of you guys reposting our stuff on Instagram and on Facebook, and things like that. And I'll be honest with you, that really, really helps. Letting people know what the work is done. We're going to put out something to announce that we're going to start the Galatians series next week. So hopefully by Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll have something up for that. And like sharing that would really help. Getting people into the community really helps, and sharing what we're doing. But that's the ideas I have right now. So, I just need people who are, I need a better team. I need a good team. Not a better team, because I don't really have a big team right now. So I need a team. Because not having a staff and trying to do this on my own just isn't working. And I want this to work well. And I want to respect not just my own time and my own family, but I want to respect your time, your family, this work. I think it's important, but I think it needs to be done well and right. And moving all over the country hasn't helped, but that's the story I find myself in. And so I will continue to move forward. I guess one of the questions would be, well, do you want to start, maybe start a community where you're at? And right now I'm looking at that, but I'm also having to ask myself, do I have the strength right now, and do I have the mental wherewithal right now, and the work that I'm also doing with this documentary, do I have the time to put in and to start a new community? I've done that quite a few times, and it's really tough work. And right now, as I said, I don't like the word pastor or things like that. Like, that hasn't been really where I feel like I'm at right now. But I guess I'm a speaker or a preacher even. I am a preacher, and I am somebody, but when you go into having community, you do go into that pastor role. I don't think it's not fair to go into a community without having some sort of like caretaker role, but maybe having better boundaries in my life. Well, I'll have to, because that's just where I find myself. But I don't know yet, because it's a lot of work to do that. And I really feel like the message is what's vital right now with this gathering, is the message of grace, the message of not scapegoating, the message of unity, coming together, speaking to one another, because I believe we're better out affecting other communities than having just a little group where we talk about that, So maybe the idea is if I do set up a community, we do it on a night that's not Sunday, whatever. But the idea is that we take what we're learning, we take these ideas, we read these books, and when we take it out into a broader community, like maybe you start a podcast, maybe you start these things, and you're talking about, you're talking to others about scapegoating. You're talking to others about loving each other. You're just having tough conversations with each other. Maybe that's the goal. So this is what I really wanted to just talk to you guys about is my heart's in the same place, and we've got a plan. So we've got the Galatians series starting next week, and then we've got the Paul Tillich series on You Are Accepted, which, like I said, you could just type that into Google. That talk comes up, you can read it, and we'll all be on the same page together, and we can discuss that together. And by that time, I think I'll have it better worked out, so I can make sure we get the comments included, because I think it'll be important to kind of have a conversation with that. And honestly, like, I did have a third thing that I was thinking about, and one of those things was talking about maybe the scholarship of the pastoral epistles, and why I believe that those were to undo the good work of Paul. Why I believe those are forgeries to react to the message of Paul would be what I would like to do if we continue after the Tillich talks. I'd like to do that. So I obviously have vision. I obviously have a plan. Just the idea is can we move forward with that vision and plan? And we definitely need your support to do that financially, but also just letting people know about the community, getting people to tune in to the YouTube videos and the podcasts and different things like that, and just to continue. This work has never been easy. And so I'm not saying that I'm expecting it to be easy, but just expecting it to be a little less difficult to continue to move forward. So those are my ideas because I think they're important. Like talking about the pastoral, I'd like to get this scholar Dan to come in and talk about biblical scholarship to us and biblical history and to us as well. I'd love to do an interview with him. So we're trying to actually get him right now to come in and be a guest at Revolution to do that. So I feel like for the first time in a long time, I have a really good vision of what I'd like to see. Like kind of planned out vision of what we'd like to do here with the gathering. But like I said, I think the next step is seeing if Josh is willing to come on board, taking Revolution. It's not more seriously; it's just taking it more seriously with other people. With a team, and moving forward, and seeing if we are able to move forward financially. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's kind of that's my pitch for the new year, the vision casting, if you will, for 2023, and it'll be a lot of hard work. That's one of the things why people go, oh, well, you just do a service once a week. Why don't you go to work down at the Gap? And that's the one great job I had is the Gap or the Starbucks, and maybe that's an answer. But one of the things I try to do is like, as a self-taught scholar, armchair theologian, messing with philosophy, is that I try to take my free time and study and read and listen to philosophy podcasts and listen to, biblical scholarship talks and read books that I never thought I would be reading. Like I have a stack of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books right behind me. One I've been reading for almost a year and a half because it's a Hegel book. Behind me that I'm trying to work through right now too. At the same time, be a really fun dad, and be a good dad and co-parent and friend. So and work on a documentary about my family's life, which has come at kind of a cost for me, to be honest with you. It's been really tough. Holidays are great because of the kids, but personally for me, like my family outside of my children, has not been easy. It was a really tough year. And I want to say a shout out to Zoe. They really helped me and encouraged me through this with just small texts and words and things like that. But they are able to, Zoe is able to, has a gift of empathy and understanding. And just, I sent Zoe one picture and they were like, that's devastating. I'm like, that's all I needed. I just needed to be recognized for a second of just like, this is really bad, And, so, and I've been reconnecting with a lot of people from my past because there's just been some really tough stuff. And I'm really excited about that. Also have exciting things about new projects that we want to do. And so yeah, and also our friend Steve's here, and Steve's been going through cancer, and my mother passed away from cancer, and Steve is like so valuable to me and so important to me, and it's like I'm at this place where I don't even know how to react to that, especially after this year of loss. I mean, it's just a lot going on, but you know what, that's okay, because we're going to live life on life's terms, and that's what this community is about. Do I believe that this community could radically change and alter the church as a whole, yes, I really do. Call me naive, call me ridiculous, call me crazy. Maybe it's too much Tammy Faye in me. I don't know. But I do. I believe that we can make it. I believe that we can offer hope to the hopeless. And I do believe we can bring compromise to those who have said, no compromise, because compromise is not always a bad thing. Not when you can sit people down together and they can love each other because they're willing to compromise. Because for me, that's the goal. Love and grace is the goal. So when I say love and grace by any means necessary, even compromise, co-promise. I think I read in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Compromise means co-promise. That was like 25 years, maybe 28 years ago, 27 years, 26 years ago I read that book. Contradiction. Contradiction is okay. And we're going to learn to live in that. So I believe it. So here I am going like, yes, I believe we can change the world, and I might be closing shop in 2 months. So there, how about that for some contradiction? You folks mean a lot to me. Like when I went out to England, I got to meet with Kate and see her in person and talk about her life, and Barry was there, and we all got to hang out, and it was just really cool because it was like, here I am on the other side of the world, and I'm here with somebody from the gathering, and we're meeting in person, and we're talking about life, and life is tough, and all the normal things about life. And the thing is if you don't think normal people change things, they do. Dr. King was a normal person who just answered a call, who just studied hard, who just thought differently and said, let's do this, and got a good team of community and people around him and changed things, and is still changing things. He's changing this like middle-aged, straight white guy's life right now, And so did this guy, Joe Strummer, who was like a dropout and punk rocker, and this guy, Chris Christopherson, and Johnny Cash, so Public Enemy, it's like all these things have influenced me to do my work well. And so let's not count ourselves out. And then I think we can embrace people like Peter Rollins and this guy Dan and other people from other communities who are well educated and who do understand philosophy and do have even maybe a deeper understanding of biblical history and what was the word I was looking for? Scholarship, and biblical scholarship, and bring those people in to help us, because the more I study scholarship and history and philosophy, the better the news gets. It becomes from like okay news to good news to really amazing news. That grace and this message continues to just be breathed and lived into. It's not just like, these are, it's not shutting down these concepts. It's actually, I feel like inclusion, it just continues to grow wider and wider, as I think we've seen in the New Testament. And yes, don't give up, you're on the brink of a miracle. That's what my mom used to sing that song, and it kind of feels like that's happening with this. And so I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic, and I'm not an optimistic person usually. Ask anybody. I am usually pretty sad, lonely guy. Yeah, you adore Peter Rollins. I'm going to be with Pete in 2 days. I fly out there tomorrow, and we'll get there on Wednesday because it's a really long flight, or Tuesday. Tomorrow's Monday, yeah. So I'll get there on Tuesday, and we'll be working together and continuing not just to work on the dock, but also, when I'm with Pete, he really encourages me to look into that's why I have all these talks planned out, encourages me to plan for the future no matter what, and continue this work no matter what. I was really ready to turn in a few years ago, and he said, nope, you got to continue, don't give up. You still have that message. I'm like, well, I don't know if I believe in God. And he's like, you still have grace, man. Just move forward with grace. And that's what I've done. But I need your help. So I'm asking for help. Help Revolution. If Revolution is something you believe in and think is able to bring this type of change through this gathering and through our words and through what we do outside of this gathering, because of this gathering and because of our community, then support it. That's how we're going to move forward. Tell other people about it. That's how we're going to move forward. So thank you, everybody. I love you guys. Today wasn't really a sermon. It was just more vision casting and kind of hope in this strange time, especially after last year, just losing so many good people that were a part of this gathering and part of my life. So thank you, everybody. And somebody just posted it up on the thing is they were excited about the future of seeing more scholarship brought into this. And that's what we're going to do. If we can make it through this, if we can make it, there'll be that focus. We're going to bring in scholars from different places to speak for us. So I'm thankful for you all. I'm thank you guys for carrying me through last year as well. God, what a weird year. Not my toughest, but it was a tough one. Well, that's cool. We'll see what we go. And I'll talk to you on Sunday live from Northern Ireland in Belfast. And we will be starting Galatians 2023, part 1. So excited for that. Love you guys. Be good. Happy New Year. And, let's all be a little bit kinder to each other, listen to each other a little bit more, and continue to disagree well if we can. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. To make your 100% tax-deductible donation today, please visit revolutionchurch.com/donate. You can also learn more by clicking the donate section on the website.